We're going to begin with sitting on the mat. I think that this is a really, really good way to start. I know sometimes we lay down first, but today let's start with sitting, and then we'll go to laying, and then we'll transition to some balancing poses in like a tabletop position, so we can do a few more poses there, and then we'll transition up. All right. So get comfortable in your seat. You want to begin to just try to ground your sits bone into the mat. You do this by maybe tucking in the belly just a little bit and sitting up a little bit taller, lifting up the spine through the hip body. Okay. If you like, you can close the eyes. Start to relax the shoulders. And take a few breaths. And do this with the intention to just start to ground yourself to prepare for class. Nowhere to go and nothing to do for the next hour, but to be here on the mat. And it starts off with maybe the breath being choppy. But then as you breathe in more and more and you focus on the breath, you can start to notice this shift. Maybe the breath eases just a little bit. See if you can allow yourself to find a little bit of inner peace. Inhaling and exhaling. Just doing this in a way that supports you. You can also notice some sounds in the space around you, and that's normal. Do your best to just be tolerant of anything that comes into this space that doesn't necessarily work with this practice. There might be sounds or smells. Use those as opportunities to actually use your practice and implement it in an active way. The mind wanders or drifts at any time. When you bring it back, be kind and gentle to yourself. It's very important throughout this practice to be compassionate. And to also be in a state of mind that honors the body at all times. Try your best to do the poses, but if at any time these poses seem to be a little bit out of your reach, just take it as it's not the time to go all out. All our poses should not go beyond a moderate stretch. So if you are in a severe stretch or you're overextending, you may feel that and bring yourself back, knowing that it's not so much what the pose looks like as it is what your body feels like. Continue to just be breathing in this way, and now we're going to begin to become more aware of the rest of our bodies. We're going to allow our breath to travel to our feet, and I want you to just focus on your feet for a moment. Imagine that your breath can make it to your feet. And then on the exhale, allow it to travel through the body and out through the nose. And just feel each breath come into the full body. And for the next 3 breaths, let these breaths be fully focused on. Allow for your inhale to be shorter than your exhale. We'll take a collective breath together to do this. On your next exhale, let the navel touch the spine and let all the stale air leave out of the body. And then when we breathe in, allow the breath to come to the feet to the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Pause for a moment and then exhale to the count of 4. 3, 2, 1. all the air out the body. Inhale, 1, 2, 3. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. And allow the last one to be your own. Next, we're going to take our chin and drop it down to our chest. Continue to keep the body up straight. As you feel the nape of the neck expand, so much so that the top of the head, where the top of the nape of the neck is, starts to curve forward. Allow for the spine, the back body, to still be in a straight position. So instead of leaning forward, you only want your head to go forward, not your shoulders, not any other part of your body. Sit up in this dignified manner, and then slowly roll the right ear to the right shoulder. But for this nice long stretch to encompass the full side of your neck that is extended. Full neck extended. So the left neck body is stretched. Chin back to the center chest. Take your time as you roll your left ear to your left shoulder. Your right side of your neck is now expanded and elongated. Use the breath to help you breathe into this space. Inhaling and exhaling. Chin back to the center chest. Right ears to the right shoulder. Take the left fingertips and walk them out towards the left side of the mat. Feel that nice long stretch. Walk the fingertips back to the thigh. Drop the chin back to the center chest. Left ear to the left shoulder. Right fingertips walk out to the right side of the mat. Extending as far as you feel comfortable until you feel a mild to moderate stretch. And just breathe through it. The breath is powerful. I know we may be sitting in poses for a few moments, but you get a lot more when you really focus on using the breath as part of the practice. And that's really what yoga is all about. Unifying the breath and the body. We're going to bring those fingertips back in, chin back to the center chest. And we're going to take our gaze, lift up with our eyesight, take our arms, reach up overhead. Arms extend out, roll the shoulders away from the ears. Look up, gaze up. Let the throat be long. And just breathe into the nose that it travels down through the neck, into the chest, into the belly. And then exhale, arms come down, but bring them behind you. And if you can, interlace the fingers in a way that you can pull your arms away from the body. Pressing the shoulder blades together. Look up, gaze up, and keep that chest open, keep the throat open. And then come back and bring the arms back to the side. Great, we're gonna kick out our feet. Now when we kick out our feet, one of the things I like to always point out, and every time you take my class, I'll probably tell you the same thing. Make sure that your knees are soft. So we can always start out with our knees up and gradually start to come down as we extend the hamstrings and the rest of the muscles in the leg body. There's no need to rush this. And everybody's different, so I'm gonna start to slowly lower my legs down. Still lift it off the ground for now because that's me. Try to find that place for your legs. We're going to reach up, arms lift overhead, just like we were lifting out that pelvic bowl. Lift up, reach up, and then start to press the belly forward. Pressing the belly, then allowing the hands to come down wherever they are. So when I say that term, wherever they are, that means there's no forcing, there's no striving. You're just dropping your hands to the furthest part of the body when you press your belly towards the thighs. Chin to the chest. Relax and breathe. And then each breath, see if you can start to soften the legs a little bit more So much so until the legs come down to the mat in their own time. They may never be completely flat on the mat, and that's okay. But you just want to start to use this breath in a way to serve your body, help you stretch, and to go a little bit deeper into each pose. So far, we're still not striving. We're not doing anything but sitting here in a forward fold position. See if you can relax the ankles, relax the feet. And just nothing to do. No reason to rush to the next pose. Slowly, we're going to start to rise up, lift up, arms reach up overhead. Okay, you can soften those knees again. We're going to come back forward, pressing the belly again towards the thighs, but this time I want you to strive a little. I want you to reach your arms out through your shoulder blades, and I want you to kind of come and extend them further. And if the knees are bent, great. If you have them straight, great as well. If you can grab the toes, go for the toes. If you can grab the ankles, go for the ankles. But I want you to try to go a little bit further than where you were. And we're pressing the belly towards the thighs, chin to the chest. This time you're getting that stretch. You're stretching out the back of the knees, you're stretching the hamstrings, you're taking it a bit further. So if there's any tight muscles here, this is going to be the perfect time to use the breath to help you extend them. You're going to feel a sensation for sure. Just try to stay within the mild to moderate range. Slowly, you're going to reach back up, arms lift up overhead, bring the hands behind you, press up, chest lifts up. Okay, beautiful. We're going to take our right knee, we're going to press our right knee up towards our chest, the foot is on the ground, right? We're going to take our hands, lift them up, lifting out that pelvic bowl. We're going to press our belly so that we come and we hug our left arm around our right knee, and we bring our right hand, just so you can see me, we bring our right hand behind us, and we look behind us. Breathe in and out. Now, if you want to modify and go a little bit deeper into this pose, you can take your elbow and hook it to the outside, okay, the outside of that right leg. Look behind you. Arms reach up overhead, extend both legs out in front of you. Remember, soften those knees and come down into a forward fold. One breath, one movement. Inhale and breathe in. Exhale, breathe out, and start to rise back up, squeezing the core. Bring the hands up, bring the hands behind you. Get that stretch again. And this time, bring up the left leg, okay? So that the knee is towards the chest, foot is on the ground. We're going to take that right arm and take the left and lift it up too. It's your choice. But you want to make sure that that right arm comes around and wraps around and hugs the left knee. The left hand comes behind you. This is what it looks like on this side. If you want to go in for the modification, you can go in for the modification. Make sure you take your gaze over your shoulder. Arms reach up, lift up, come back to center, drop the leg down, soften the knees, press the belly forward, forward fold. Inhale and breathe in. Exhale out and come back up. Arms will go up overhead, bring the hands again to the mat behind you, press up. Okay, it's really important that we get our height again, press up. And this time we're going to take our right foot, and we have, I think we're going to stick with this pose. We're going to drop that right foot over top of the left leg. Okay? This is one of my favorite poses. And we're just going to keep the left leg straight. You can stay just like this, flexing the left foot. The more you flex the left foot, the more you're going to feel a stretch underneath the leg. All the tender parts of the leg are going to be activated, from the hamstring all the way down to the back of the ankle. If you soften the left foot a little bit and you soften the left ankle, same will happen on the right side, but more on the left this time. You'll feel this ability for that to soften and it won't be as tense. Okay, so that's how you play with the stretches with your foot. Now we can also come forward and start to press our bellies forward. Remember, we always press forward, and at the same time we're playing around with our foot to find that sweet spot. It's just where you're starting to breathe in and you're on the boundary and you're able to experience a delight sensation. Something where you know that you're stretching, but you're not overstretching. You're getting a sense of relaxation. You're getting all the benefits of yoga. And at the same time, you're not overdoing it. We're going to hold this for about 5 breath cycles more. The mind wanders, bring it back to the breath and to the pose. Gently come back up, belly, chest, and head. We're going to remove our leg. We're going to sit back up just for a moment. Knee bent on the right side. Gently place that leg back down on the ground. Arms lift up, come forward, forward fold. Inhale and breathe in. And then exhale, come back up. Arms reach up overhead, bring the hands behind you, press up on the mat, and that'll give you the lift to be able to bring up your left knee. Knee is bent, foot is on the ground. The right foot is flexed. We're going to take that left leg and we're going to cross it over just so we can lay on top of the right thigh. We're going to find that sweet spot, playing around with the ankle. We're going to make sure that we're pressing our belly towards the thigh. We're not dropping like this. We're pressing belly towards the thigh and then we're just stopping. It's easy to do a pose incorrectly. Look or feel like you're getting further and deeper into the pose, but if it's being done incorrectly, that means that you're practicing in a way that's not serving your body well. You're creating habits. So you want to be able to just get into the practice of giving your best, even if it's only a millimeter of movement. Better to build a habit with a millimeter of good movement than a yard of just bad energy, bad habits that are hard to break. Two more breaths. Last one, we're going to bring the leg back over, being gentle. Place the leg down on the ground. Arms reach up, lift up overhead, press the belly forward, forward fold, and just stay here in this forward fold for a moment. We're going to transition to the mat. And I just want you to be able to feel this forward fold. We're going to come back up, bring the hands on to the ground. Okay, we're going to bring ourselves to our knees, but we're actually going to lower down into a Cobra position. So knees are behind us. We're going to slowly lower down, hugging our shoulders by our sides, coming down to our bellies and our chest. All right, when you get there, you can just bring your right ear to the right side, to the mat, so you can relax and breathe. Hands are still up. You want to be prepared to come on into our Cobra. Slowly lift up, press the belly into the ground. Press the arms so that their forearms are on the mat. Hands are in front of you, shoulders are by the side. So we're not out like this. We're close together. Their shoulders are hugging our chest area. And we're up. Gaze is up. The front of our throat is stretched. The legs behind us are pressed down into the ground. We're grounded through our hips. Our hip body is completely supported on the ground beneath us. And then gently lower back down, belly towards the mat. You can tilt your head, and you can bring your left ear now down to the mat. Slowly squeeze the core, press your feet back in, lift up, and if you want, you can take your Cobra just a little bit further. There was a baby Cobra before, and now we're turning into a mama Cobra. Squeeze the core, press down through the hip body, lift up through the chest. Gaze is up. Gently lower back down. And we're going to come on to our backs. You're going to take your time as you roll over to the back body. All right, we can start out with our knees bent. Breathe in and out. Now we were doing Cobra, we're going to invert that and we're going to do bridge. So we were lifting up the chest, now we're going to lift up the belly. So bring the feet a little bit closer towards the sit bone. Knees remain bent. Hands are by the side. You don't want them out by the side, you want them hugged by the body. Gently, you're going to tuck the tailbone down, and without rising up yet, I just want you to feel that tuck. Tucking back, feel the full length of the back on the mat beneath you. Long spinal body. Then we're going to lift up, lift the hips up. Gaze stays where it is. You don't have to move your head left or right. Inhale and exhale. Shoulders are still on the mat, but the length of the mid and the lower back are completely lifted and helping to lift up through the hip body. Wrapping your muscles around the thighs. Let this part of the body be completely active. And then gently we're going to lower down vertebrae by vertebrae all the way down to the mat. And then inhale, lift up. Come back up. Pause for a moment. And then gently lower back down, vertebrae by vertebrae. You can do this 2 more times at your own pace. And if you like, you can modify to go a little bit deeper, interlacing the fingers underneath the bridge. But you don't have to if it's not in your practice. Last one. Make sure you're still breathing. Keep the knees where they are for a moment. Settle your back body down. And then kick them up so that the legs are in tabletop position. Bring the knees to the chest and hug your knees into your chest. So just kind of roll back and forth. Give yourself a nice little spinal massage. And we're going to bring our hands down by the side. And we're going to just take both our knees and drop them over towards the left side. Arms extend out. Look over the right arm. So legs are to the left. We're looking over the right arm. Arms are straight at our shoulder's length. We're going to squeeze our knees back to our chest, lift back up, and then we're going to roll over to the other side. Dropping our legs now over to the left. Over to the right, looking over the left hands. Arm is straight. Gaze is to the left. Knees are to the right. Squeeze the knees back into the chest. Come back up to center. Rock back and forth. We're going to keep our right knee in our hands. We're going to drop our left leg down. Okay. We're going to take our hands, and on the left side, we're going to bring the knee over towards the left. So the left hand is guiding the right knee over towards the left. You can take your hands and extend it out on the right side, looking over it. So we're basically doing the same thing, just this time one leg is straight and the other knee is crossed over. Just breathe through this. Make sure you don't hold the breath. Come back up to center. Bring both knees to the chest. You can hug them. And then drop the right leg down. Keep the left knee up towards the chest. You're going to take your right hand and bring your left knee over towards the right side. Okay? And then you're going to extend out that arm on the opposite side and look over. And just breathe. Squeeze the core, come back up, bring both your knees back into center. And this time, take the feet, press them together, and bring your legs into butterfly. All right, now you can wobble the legs back and forth or wiggle them just a little bit. That's up to you. You can kind of roll around until you get comfy. All right, if your feet don't touch, you could just hold in happy baby's pose. So that's you just holding the sides of your feet or holding your toes. It's your choice. Just so you know, there's always modifications. Breathe in and out. All right. We're going to gently let the feet be back on the mat. Knees are bent. This time we're going to take our hands, bring them behind our head. We're going to do some bicycle crunches. We're going to squeeze our belly, come up, lifting our belly, lifting our chest so that we're squeezing our belly. We're going to take the right knee, draw it up, and bring the left elbow over towards that knee. Bring the foot back down, lay the head back down. Come back up, squeeze the core, opposite side, and then back down. Once you feel that you're squeezing the belly and that you have this down, you can just start to come into a fluid kind of movement with your bicycle crunches. Remember, you want to bring your chest up towards the knees. 2 more. Breathing in and breathing out. Last one. You can do it. Bring your head back down. This time extend the legs straight. Send the arms up in the air. Stretch out the full length of the body. Beautiful. We're going to take both our knees, drop them over towards the right side, and then pick ourselves up and come into a tabletop position. Take your time as you get there. If you like, you can take your mat and you can actually bend the mat in 1 or 2 pieces so that your knees feel support. We're always going to extend it back out once we start to go into our other poses. But for right now, we can come into that tabletop position and have the support. And if you have a blanket, you can use a blanket as well. Just something to protect the knees if you need it. You're going to tuck the belly in. All right. Make sure that the back is straight. It's almost like somebody could take a teacup and put it on your back and it wouldn't fall. Slowly, we're going to start to do a few cat-cows. We're going to, if you want, you can tuck the toes under. You can keep them flat on the ground. It's your choice. We're going to press the back up, and belly goes inwards and it caves in. We're going to loosen our hips so that it goes down into our thighs and our chin into our chest. Slowly we'll reverse. Belly drops down and droops towards the mat. The top of the head goes up. The hips go back up. This time it's a little different. The hips are having a different experience. The sits bone is helping to tuck the back down so that the back arches. It's like an upside down McDonald's arch. And then inhale and breathe in. Allow the back to reverse. Back body goes up towards the ceiling. It's like a dome shape. And do this about 4 or 5 times. This is your cat-cow. Every time your belly goes down, it is the cow. Every time the back goes up, it is your scared cat. Want to breathe in here and find a rhythm to the breath. Keep your hands shoulders length apart. Keep your hips width apart. Last one. And then come back into a straight tabletop position. We're going to sit our hips to our heels and bring our forehead down to the mat. You can extend your legs open, or you can keep them closed. And this is our child's pose. So there's options for it. That's why I say go ahead and find your child's pose. Take your time getting there. And breathe in and out. And know that child's pose is always here for you. There's never a time that you can't just drop into child's pose in the yoga practice. It's active. It just gives you a sense of rest. You take your head and massage it on the mat. And just relax into the pose. Another 3 breath cycles. Slowly we're going to walk our fingertips to the front of the mat and then plop ourselves up. Back into our tabletop position. We're going to take our right foot behind us. I want you to wiggle that foot. So right foot behind us, flex the foot so the back of the foot is like on the wall behind us. You're going to lift up, squeezing the glutes. And I want you to bring that right foot over towards the left side. Lean your upper body forward. Allow for this stretch to really stretch out the right hip body. Your upper body stays straight and square with the mat. If you like, you can even look behind and look at your foot. It's your choice. Come back, bringing that foot back up. We're going to keep it there, and then we're going to lift up on our left hand. And we're going to extend our left hand in front of us. Our right foot comes behind us. Squeeze the core, lift up through the pelvic bowl. You're pressing against the ground, against the mat. Breathe in, out. And gently bring the hand back down to the mat. Bring the foot back down to the ground. Bring the knee back down to the ground. We're going to do the other side, so the left leg extends, so you can wiggle the left toes. Extend, pressing away from the pelvic bowl, but leaning the upper body forward, squeezing the core. And then we're going to take that foot and we're going to bring it over towards the right side. Upper body is still square with the mat in front of us. We can look over our shoulder on the right side if you like, or you can just keep your gaze fixated on the mat. Inhale and exhale. We're going to come back up. Stretch that leg out. Don't put it down yet. Keep that left leg stretched. Now we're going to bring out our right hand and press it forward. So it's almost like our body is being stretched into two. Inhaling and exhaling, we hold the pose. We breathe through the pose. We press against the ground. The more that we are active in the pose, it's easier for us to balance. And then bring your hand down to the mat. We're going to sit our hips back down into child's pose. Hips to the heels, forehead to the mat. Relax the wrists. You have to take time to relax the wrists, maybe even just kind of rotate them backwards and forwards. Slowly come back up. You can take your mat if it's been tucked under. You can open it up. All right, we're going to take our toes and we're going to start to just tuck them under and start to lift up our knees. Press our hands into the mat a little bit more, stretching out the arms. We're not in a downward facing dog yet, we're just preparing. And then on the next inhale, we'll come into that downward dog and we'll clean it up. Let your head hang heavy, shaking yes, shaking no. You can slowly start to walk out those heels. Stretching those arms out, pressing the belly. Again, here we go. We're pressing the belly towards the thighs. Inhale and exhale. We're going to take our right foot and lift it up. Stretch it out behind us. Pressing the wall behind us. If you want to go for a downward dog split, you can. If you want to go for a hip opener, you can. But you can also just keep your foot behind you, pressing into the wall. We're going to bring it back down. Just kind of shake it out. And we're going to bring up the left foot, pressing a footprint on the wall behind us. If you want to go in for that split or hip opener, you can. But you're welcome to just press that foot behind you. Bring the foot back down. And slowly we're going to start to walk our feet towards our hands and let our hands come towards our feet until we're standing in a forward fold position. And just stay here for a moment. If you want to take your arms and kind of hug them together, you're welcome to. Reach for the toes, you can, or just have your hands placed somewhere on your legs. Inhale and exhale. Bend the knees softly, and slowly we're going to start to roll up, vertebrae by vertebrae, taking our time. Seeing the knees are bent. Belly first. Then the chest. Then the head. Roll the shoulders back. Eyes to eye side gaze, mountain pose. Yes. Feet are about hips width apart. Just breathe. We're going to bring our arms up overhead, slowly soften the knees, reaching up through the pelvic bowl body. Okay, arms are overhead. Interlace the fingers, press the palms up higher. Roll the shoulders away from the ears. Keep the knees soft and lean over towards your right, and then pivot up and look up towards the ceiling, looking through the left side of your body. Come back to center. Lean to the left. Pivot up. Look up to the right side now. Back to center. Hands come down by your sides. Beautiful. We are going to take our legs, extend them out, and then start to bend the knees down. Your right foot is going to be poking towards almost the right wall all the way. I mean, you'll have a little bit of bend movement in that foot. left will be the same. Some people can actually do it where their feet are completely 90 degrees, but you don't have to do that. You can kind of come to like a 45-degree angle with your legs. Sit a little bit lower, suck the belly in, lift up on the arms. The arms are shoulders length apart. Inhale, breathe in and out. Coming into your goddess pose. Now some people like to go really, really deep into this pose. You're welcome to do that if you like, if it's part of your practice, but you don't have to. Find yourself in your range, and that goes for all the poses that are standing. Find your range. Hold it for about 2 more breaths. Be completely active. And then arms rise, lifting up overhead. All right, we're going to now just kind of pivot the body, and our left foot is going to start to come towards the front of the room, and then it's just going to come up kind of towards the right side a little bit. So it's going to be at a 45-degree angle, while our right foot now is completely straight with the right side of the room. Okay, this is our first stance of how we start to get into a warrior pose or side angle. We're going to start off with a side angle. So give yourself the range in between your legs, and just so you know, I'm not on one straight line of energy. I have space. You may not be able to see it when I'm standing sideways, but there's space in between each leg. Okay, so you have 2 ranges. You have the range between your left and your right leg, and then you also have the length of that range. So you have the width, you have the length. Slowly bring your right arm, your forearm, onto your right thigh, and then take your left hand and lift it up. Squeeze the core, sit a little bit lower into your lunge. Make sure that your knee is stacked on top of your ankle. Now if you want to take your arm and stretch it forward so that you're stretching out the hip body, you can. And if you want to do a hip opener or a hip strengthener, you can do that as well, bringing up both the hands. Or you don't have to. Just go for the side angle that works for you. Breathe in and out. Now we're going to keep that left arm up. We're going to bring the right arm forward. We're going to come into a warrior 1 pose. So we're just going to transition and pivot. It's almost like a flow. Find your space, find your range, and we're going to take that right hip, we're going to bump it back, bring the left hip forward, look up, gaze up, and just breathe through your warrior from the fingertips all the way down to your feet. Be completely active and aware. This is a strong pose. This is a fighter pose. Breathe in and out. We're going to come into warrior 2. Right arm comes forward. Left arm comes back. Standing nice, strong warrior 2. Lifting through the pelvic bowl, extending out the arms where the clavicle bone is, where the heart is. Heart shines bright. Fingertips are straight. Looking over your right fingertips. Warrior 2. Imagine if you have maybe even a ball in between your legs, and that can help you bump up a little bit more, lifting through the pelvic bowl lifting up through the rib cage to the chest to the heart towards the shoulders. Shoulder blades are relaxed though, so the strength is in the core. Slowly start to lean forward. We're leaning towards the right forward, sky flip the hand and then reverse back. Now we're in a peaceful warrior. You want to go in for a bind, you can, where you take your hand and you place it on your thigh, or you can just wrap your fingertips around your clothing. Or just keep your hand here on the back of your thigh. Arms extend back out, warrior 2. We're going to straighten out the right leg, softening the knee still a little bit. Lean yourself towards the right a little bit, and then bring your hand to a home on your leg. And gazes up, triangle pose. The left hand comes back behind you and helps you lift out the pose as you pivot and come back to center. Toe heel to feet, coming back into hips width apart. Relax the shoulders, relax the body. Just feel the body from the nose all the way down to the feet. And pause for a moment, focusing solely on the breath. Noticing the difference from the right side to the left. We're going to come back into our stance. We're going to start out with our goddess pose, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side, on our left side. So extend the legs out, you know your place, maybe go a little bit deeper into the pose. Squeeze those thighs, I want you to keep them completely active. Arms come up. Inhale and exhale as you breathe in and out. Slowly come up. We're popping out and lifting up. And we're going to just pivot our body over towards the left now. The right foot is behind us and it's at that 45-degree angle. The left foot is facing the left wall. We can sit a little bit lower into that lunge until we find ourselves in a comfortable range. Squeeze the core, lift up. Start to press the thigh, press the belly towards the thigh and bring your arm on your left arm onto the left thigh and lift up your right hand, side angle. Again, you're welcome to modify. You can keep your arm right here. You can stretch your right hand towards the left side, or you can come in for a core strengthener. Your choice. We're going to pivot, and we're coming to a warrior one. So we're just moving the body, we're flowing with it, bumping the left hip back, bringing the right hip forward to square our hips, getting ourselves into the pose, cleaning up our warrior one on the side. Gazes up. Inhale and exhale. Open the arms. Left hand goes towards the front, right hand goes towards the back. Continue to look over the left fingertips. Warrior two. Active from the toes all the way up to the head. Pressing your feet more into the mat, almost like you're stretching your mat in half. Slowly lean forward, leaning the upper body towards the left side. Sky flip the left hand. Reverse back. Right hand towards the right thigh or to a bind. Reverse warrior. Slowly unwind back into warrior two. We're going to press that leg on the left side straight, knee is still soft. We're going to lean our body towards the left. Drop our left hand around the ankle. Right hand up. Triangle. And bring the right hand down and use that right hand to help you lift up and guide out of the pose. And come back to center. And just come to a standing pose, a standing mountain pose. Hands down in a relaxed position. Slowly bend the knees, lift the arms up, reach them up overhead. And then on the exhale, bring the hands down by the side. Open up the legs a little bit, and we're going to start to come down, bringing the hands to the inside of the legs so that we're in a frog pose. Now you can come down to the mat however it's best for you. But you want to come up to this position where you're Elbows are on the inside of the legs. And bring your hands together. Press the elbows into the knees and the knees into the elbows. Great. Bring the hands onto the ground in front of you. And then gently come into a seated position. Okay, we're going to stay just like this for a moment. Remember, we can bring our hands behind us to give us a little bit of length and lift in our upper body. Inhale and breathe in. We're going to lift up on our legs and we're going to come into a boat pose. Now, if you want to just keep your toes on the ground and lift up your heels, you're welcome to do that. You're going to bring your hands up in front of you. If you can extend your legs all the way up into the air, that's great as well. Or if you're somewhere in between, that works too. Squeeze your belly, bring your hands together, twist to the right, back up to center, twist to the left, squeeze, right, center, left, center. Breathe in and out and try to do this 4 times in all on each side. Okay, bring the feet back up, back down to the mat, lift up through your chest, and then slowly you're going to start to lower your vertebrae all the way down to the mat. 1 vertebrae at a time, your back body comes down to the mat. Hands come to the side. Relax and breathe. And bring the knees to the chest. And breathe in and out. Now you can take a last pose and you can do any pose you like, but I'm going to offer the shoulder stand. But if there's a different pose that you'd like to do, or if you'd like to just come straight into Savasana, you can do that. The way we come into our shoulder stand is that we prepare our bodies just like we would in a bridge pose. We're going to squeeze the belly, lift up on the legs and go straight through, extending the legs to a straight position all the way up towards the ceiling. Now shoulder stands are something that grow in time. So where you start today is just the beginning if you're doing it with me. And then you place your hands on your back body like you're placing them into your pockets, like you have jean pockets. That helps you to lift up and bump up just a little bit more. Keep the gaze up towards the ceiling. Another way to come into the pose is you can also come into a plow pose or dead bugs pose, and to get a little extra lift with your hands, you can place them your back body, the mid back, and then you'll see that you'll get a little bit more space to lift. Wherever you are in your shoulder stand is fine. If you're not doing it, that's okay too. And then gently we're going to lower down, vertebrae by vertebrae, bending the knees, tucking them in towards the chest. And we can roll back and forth. Last minute or last bit of the poses. Massage the back body. And bring the legs down straight if it's in your practice to do so in Savasana. If you want to keep the knees bent, you can do that as well. You can sky flip the hands or place the hands on the belly. It's your choice. Relax and breathe. You can congratulate yourself on a job well done. You didn't have to come to class today, but you did. You honored your body and you respected yourself throughout the full practice. Continue to breathe in and out and just embrace this moment you worked hard for. I'm going to ring the singing bowl. You can allow for this to just be part of your Savasana. As long as you're doing it with the best parts of you, you're developing a good habit, which is just as important to your practice. It's a practice of life as anything else. Remember that you are enough. You're welcome to stay in Savasana as long as you like. But otherwise, we'll close together. When you're ready, you can start to wiggle the toes. Walk to the left or the right side with your knees. Push yourself up into a seated position. Just take the time while you get there. No need to rush your voice. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate you.
Thank
you. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Excellent class.